Welcome back to Que-pasa-Nashville. My name is Christina Allen, and I'm your host. And we earlier were talking with Sue Fort White, is the executive director of Our Kids, and talking about 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 7 boys are sexually abused, and what their organization does, which is amazing. We're now going to talk to several people that work with Our Kids and really work with the families. We have Holly Gallion, which I like to call Gallion, clinical director, nurse practitioner, and we have Lisa Baeza, who is the social worker, bilingual. Thank you both again for being on the show.
Thank you.
We were talking about the impact Our Kids, 47 counties, 4 satellite offices, and having an initiative to reach out to the Latino community. What does that mean for you? And we'll start with you, Lisa, and reaching these children in a bilingual, bicultural way.
Well, the topic of child sexual abuse is sensitive for any family, any culture. But I do notice that having a bilingual, bicultural individual at Our Kids does help the family. There are a few barriers that families face when going to any agency, whether it's Our Kids, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the hospital. There are a few barriers that I have noticed Latino families face, and first and foremost is the culture in general. I've had 7-8 years working in the social work profession, and not just with Our Kids, just in general, and my focus has always been with the Latino community. And I noticed that with the culture, and I can't speak for all, it's hard when it comes to sensitive subjects such as child sexual abuse or mental health or physical health.
But if I am bilingual, I mean, if I am Spanish speaking and my child's been abused, and I come in, I see someone like me with a little bit of heritage, with a little bit of language skills, I think I would feel a little bit more, oh, you're my little hermana, you're my aunt, you're my sister, you're one of me. Not to discredit anyone else, but it does bring down a barrier faster to go further. Is that correct?
Most definitely. And that's one of the things that we have noticed, you know, seeking services, and there was no one there who is bilingual or bicultural. It's a little harder.
Is it overwhelming?
For the family?
Is it overwhelming for you, knowing that you have more and more families that you're treating?
I wouldn't say overwhelming. For me, I'm seeing a difference. I'm seeing that they are starting now to reach out and to seek services. We know that there's a population out there, and it makes you think, is it because of these barriers that they're not coming forward and seeking help? But now I've noticed a huge difference. We also have a bilingual nurse practitioner on staff, and I've noticed that little by little, I think in the summer, we started receiving more and more calls.
Sure, it's a lot of it also trusted factor, word of mouth.
It is.
Also, you know, opportunity like that. As a clinical director, what is your role in making sure you're programming, or, you know, how you lead Our Kids into this new community? As we know, it's a fast-growing community. It's more than 20 years old, but still fastest growing, ranked 3rd in the nation in population percentage-wise, and we're expected to be at 34% in 25 years. That's just Davidson County. And we know what schools they're in, so, you know, how do you reach them?
I think the biggest thing for the agency for me has been kind of setting the stage for families to feel comfortable. So making sure that our literature has been translated into Spanish, making sure that if someone calls that there's a language line that then can contact us, get basic information from the family, and then reach out to one of our social workers, most likely Lisa Baeza, because she is bicultural. And bilingual. I think sort of setting the stage, but then what's really been amazing is bringing her on board, and also having Heidi Dennis, our bilingual nurse practitioner, and having a dedicated Spanish clinic. We call it our Spanish satellite clinic because we really want to have a clinic, and we've had to move from 1 clinic a month to 2 clinics a month, and we're outpacing that.
And they might have a clinic next door to them, but if they know there's one speaking Spanish, they'll travel to that one, because it's that trust factor.
It has just been like gangbusters since the summer, and I think so much of it is word of mouth, but it's having all of those various components in place to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the family from the time they learn and have a concern to the moment they leave our office and they've had a medical exam and they have information about how to move forward with counseling services and any other services that they may need to reach out to.
Was there a challenge, and not in a negative way, but to have cultural intelligence within your organization as well, to understand, hey, we have a whole new way of marketing our services, or word of mouth, and we've hired new people, and so they're going to be coming in? Because I know, and sometimes dealing with the Latino family, if there's a doctor's appointment, the whole family comes. And so that's just something you have to prepare for. And wait a minute, who's a decision maker versus who's a spokesperson? They're different, you know. So is there any of that needed to be done, or did that come gradually in understanding it internally within your staff? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does, and I feel like in a certain way it's Lisa Baeza has led us with that, because her being part of our staff and our community, I think she's guided us to say, wait a minute, this probably might not work for this population, or you really need to be thinking about this when a family comes in. That I think having her around us all the time, I feel like we're integrating into something as the result of her presence.
Do you still see a lot of the machismo, the man, I mean, more prominent in probably the Latino culture, because that's how my father, you know, grew up, and a little bit my brother, but we as four sisters, you know, give him a hard time. But do you still see that as a big barrier? And you could explain.
Sure.
Machismo.
So machismo. We see a little bit of it. I think the great thing about the families coming in to see us is that we can educate, especially when it's mothers coming in and it's either a boyfriend or a brother or an uncle, and we can educate them a little bit more about child sexual abuse and to let them know, you know, you're not alone. There are services here.
And then it's not, I think so many families come to us and they don't understand that almost always it's somebody that's known and loved to them. And to be able to help them get past that barrier to say, this isn't unusual, this is almost everybody that we see, I think is freeing for them, because then they don't feel like I'm the only one. This happened to me, but it's different for everyone else, because it's not.
What percentage, and I don't know if you might know this, of those perpetrators staying part of the family, or is there the legal aspect come in right away? And because are they supporting them? I mean, there's so many different variables in these families that some of them, I'm not sure. I know that's a very individually, it probably is more apt, but I would think a lot of them are breadwinners of the family.
That is definitely one of the issues that we have come and run into. The good thing about when families do come in is that we are able to refer when appropriate, to provide them our resources that they can go and seek assistance, whether it's because he was a breadwinner, or whether it comes to legal matters, whether it comes to even finding support, you know. If they don't have any family here, there are support groups that we can refer moms, children, family members to help them.
Within the Latino
this
community,
process.
and we're still a new community, and we know a large percentage of our community are undocumented. Does that play a role in how you work with the families?
I don't know if it plays a role in how we work with the families. So we have had families come through who have known either about sexual abuse, that have been very afraid to come forward because of legal status. And again, we have an opportunity to educate the families and let them know, you know, this is not what we do at Our Kids. At Our Kids is to ensure that you're safe, that your children are safe, and when possible to refer you to the appropriate organizations that might be able to assist you.
So in looking at this next question, I know it goes beyond just Latinos, it's everyone. If someone suspects, either someone they know or within their own family, that there's child abuse, what should they do?
Let me say one more point
Yeah,
to your previous thing, because I want to make sure that families understand this. When families come to us, there is absolutely no fee for our services. So the family's not billed. We're not asking for insurance. It is completely
Thank you for
free
that,
of charge, and I think that's important for all families of any culture to know, that the services there will be no charge. Now, to your question again.
Now, if there's a suspicion, I mean, what steps does someone take?
I think to reach out to an organization like us, because I think it doesn't take, you don't have to know for sure that something's happened to make a report to Department of Children's Services, or to reach out to say, hey, you know, my child is engaging in these behaviors, or my child said this to me and I don't really know what to make about it. I'm worried, but I'm not sure. You don't have to be sure.
So I'm going to say we're going to have your website, which is www.ourkidscenter.com, which I think has some great information. Your phone number's on there as well. I'm sure they can call.
Absolutely.
But if anything, share it with someone. Is that a good thing to do? Share it with the teacher, share it with the school? I mean, I'm not sure. If I suspect that my child's been sexually abused, change of habits, something they've said, what do I do?
Usually when we talk to parents, I always tell a parent, a legal guardian, whoever, the caregiver, if you have any type of suspicions, it's always okay to call and make a report to the to the Department of Children's Services, make a police report, or wherever.
So take a step.
Take a step. Call
I
your
think
pediatrician's office.
Pediatrician would be great, and I know we're wrapping up, but this is very powerful in the sense that we do have a larger Latino community. We do have a larger men of Latinos coming versus women. We do have a lot of machismo, and so your services, knowing that they're free and they're safe, and you have a bilingual worker, I think brings a sense of our community's changing, but so is our nonprofits changing with them. Thank you both very much for being on the show. Time goes by fast. Continue to do what you're doing because it does make a difference with our growing community, not just Latinos, our refugees, and of course as a whole. So muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you
for joining Que Pasa Nashville. We'll see you next week as we talk about the opportunities and challenges Latinos bring to Middle Tennessee. And join us quarterly for our global show on our growing global community. Gracias.